Hello. Oh, it's midnight, exactly. I started this video exactly on midnight. It is May 27th of 2023. Okay, over here, this computer, I got everything hooked up. Audio, everything is working. I put it in 4K mode, and I just watched again, something I've watched before. I spent a few years in Miami, and so I like to go and in 4K mode, take one of those links where somebody walks down, through Miami, down the streets and by the ocean, all that kind of stuff. And I walked down through those areas, so it's kind of interesting. I do get pissed off. I guess I'm an old man. Well, I know I'm an old man, but I do get pissed off at all the people that have the tattoos all over them, and then the women that are standing out in front of all the eating places or whatever. They barely have anything on. I know I sound like an old man, but I'll probably leave 4K mode because I get tired of so far the screen is so I'll probably go back into 1080p mode, but everything right now is working okay, audio and everything, and everything is working okay here. Now I need to learn a few things about the program I'm using, but eventually I'm just going to stop telling you unless there's a crash or something, I'm sure I'll tell you about it. And I'm sure I'll leave 4K mode. I mean, it looks good, and especially streets and like the Bayside Mall or whatever. I walked through there numerous times, right by next to the ocean and stuff. So you can probably hear my grown son snoring maybe in the background. I don't know. Darlene is sleeping, and her television is not blasting, so it's kind of quiet. So let's go to CNN. It was, I guess, the speaker at a graduation at a university, and he gave each of the graduates $1,000. That's pretty neat. It is just so ridiculous, this putting the Ten Commandments in schools. And I saw one article on here where I think it was Texas is making a special effort to hire ordained ministers. We've got a constitution, we've got a history, and it's just sad that there's this conflict and there's this stupidity going on, The United States was not formed as a Christian nation. There are people that have stories made up. And it's just, that's not the case. Our founding fathers, they were smart men. and they knew history, and they knew that, religion was a problem. When you have, it entered into the government, and they were glad that they could set it up over here so that we didn't have that problem. People could still, there's the First Amendment to the Constitution, freedom of religion and so forth and so on. But there's just, I think a lot of people are stupid who think, that this was, the United States was a Christian nation. And then there's a lot of people that are just they don't care, and they're usually, I think, the least religious people, and they use that because there's a large base of power, A lot of the United States is, Christian. But I don't know, we just need smarter. If you're a democracy, now, of course, all the Republicans, not all of them because they're stupid, a bunch of them. But there's a bunch, the United States is not a democracy, it's a republic. They're stupid. Yes, we have a Republican form of government, not Republican Party, but I guess going back with the ancient Rome and, or it would be Greece and places like that. When I'm working at a small hospital where we were all friends and everything, but I was just about the only liberal there. They would wait for me to come in to work so they could, I'd come through the door and they'd ask me some question, and the ER doctor would be standing there if they weren't busy, ER doctor and nurses and everything. I'd come through the door and they'd say, "Jim, wanted to ask you about such and such." Then they'd ask me, and then I would answer them, and then a bunch of them would turn and say, I told you he would say that, I told you he would, And they were wrong in every case, but not that I convinced them, these oath keepers and, groups like that. When I got hired in by the post office, United States Post Office, as a career clerk, or whatever, there was multiple pages that I had to, before I, when I was filling out my thing, I'd already passed the test. And I had to swear that I didn't belong to any of these organizations. It was just humongous. Because, the government, had got together to make up this list, and it was, like one of them that I remember, of course, was the Abraham Lincoln Brigade, or whatever. I'm not going to go, I've talked about that in the past. But, I think, and then, of course, later on in the history of the United States, you had movie stars, writers, directors, and everything that if they belonged to the Communist Party of the United States or anything like that, they would be blacklisted. They wouldn't be able to work on a movie or radio show or anything. And but I think now that really, of course, then you depend on our Supreme Court. How would they rule? But I think if you belong to the Oath Keepers or any of those other organizations like that, I think that ought to be something that you couldn't get hired into the government. You couldn't get hired into, all these things. I think they ought to be on the list. Of course, the list wouldn't be, I wouldn't have had to, if I was, and I think police departments should, local police departments should not hire anybody, that is a member of the Oath Keepers or that type of thing. Now the problem is, you know, I mean, a whole bunch of those people are assholes and whatever. But I'm sure, you know, what's the number of people that join police officers or something that think, oh yeah. Of course, really one of the main things with it was, uh, you know, the government's not going, you know, I swore an oath to the, you know, Constitution of the United States, which they did, you know, protect and defend or whatever. And if they try to take the guns away from me or any other person in this campus, you know, like sheriff, deputy sheriff, or, you know, anybody in this county, if they try to take the guns away, and a bunch of those people, there'd be a bunch in there that, on that one issue, you know, if you could just, if they could just forget that crap, and belong to an organization that was, you know, sort of like the Boy Scouts or something, something like, you know, a society that did good or something rather, and then they had this one thing or whatever. But no, that's, you know, and then it makes them crazy. So, but I think, you know, if, you know, Los Angeles Police Department, and they ought to put the word out to one would be, don't hire anybody in who is a member of one of these organizations. And then you could also tell the members that you have, I mean, tell the people that you hired in, you know, if, I would hate to put it that way, but, you know, if you're not a member of one of these organizations and you join while you're a member, then you will be fired. But then what should you do with, you know, the ones that are already in there, who maybe aren't, you know, crazy? Maybe they just, you know, slightly crazy. I don't know. I don't know I'm not smart enough to know. This New York man that shot the woman who pulled into his driveway. Apparently, from what I understand, he lived. You know, you hear New York, you know, New York, big state, all that kind of stuff. But I think he lived out away from. You know, it took a while for police to show up and that type of stuff. And plus, there weren't a lot of people, you know, coming down his driveway or something or other. But he went out there, and I think there was 3 women in the car who were picking up their relatives the next street over or something, and they, you know, was not familiar, probably didn't have good signs up and stuff. And although there was a sign on his, I'm guessing, you know, maybe one with a, you know, shoot first, ask what, you know, something like that. But anyway, they pulled down the wrong road. And then they realized as they pulled down, oh no, this isn't it, you know. You know, because my sister's house has, you know, or whatever, has such and such out in front, you know, or something. And then they backed up or turned around, and then he goes out and shoots 2 or 3 rounds. And one of them hits and kills a young, you know, an innocent young lady. So I think he's going to get, you know, of course, I don't know how old he is. I guess you can see him there. I don't know. I could click on it, but you know, there's a ton of people that have guns and are just, I think, hoping they get the opportunity to shoot a bad person. Now, they're not, I don't think, hopefully, I mean, of course, there's always a few people who are, you know, crazy. But I think most of those people think, you know, I've got this gun, you know, I got a Glock, got an AR-15 or 14 or whatever the fuck it is. I never owned one, by the way. And when I was working as a reserve police officer, you know, we had a shotgun, which I never had to take out of the, you know. in each car. But some of these people, they really want to, but they want to be doing. I think for the most part, I mean, there's always a few crazy people, but for the most part, they're wanting to, these people are doing such and such. They're breaking into these houses around here. They're stealing property or whatever, and I think they want to shoot a bad person, and it should be ingrained into people that it should be I hope to God I never have to shoot anybody, and especially when you get somebody who's running away, even if they've got some of your belongings. Of course, that law was changed. It used to be the law, which we got common law from England, that you had to, that's kind of neat, handcrafted in Athens. Anyway, I never wore any jewelry. But it was that you had to, retreat. Now, I'm 82, I can't retreat very much, unless you're old and crippled or, whatever. You didn't have to retreat. But it shouldn't be that you're looking for the opportunity. It should be that you're hoping, that, and you definitely, and it used to be that you couldn't shoot, in the United States. It used to be, you couldn't shoot somebody for stealing your television. Say, well, take something more, your Apple phone or something expensive, whatever. If somebody steals it and they're running away, the law was, no, you can't kill them for stealing your whatever, pick something more expensive, I don't know. That was the law, but then the states started changing it, where, if somebody's stealing your Sunday paper or whatever, well, you can shoot them and kill them if they're running it. It should never, but we have 50 states here, and, if you following the news, man, some of the people in our Congress, our national, government, the Senate and the House, some of those people are really super stupid. And there's some that are not super stupid, but they pretend to be, to be stupid. And, so just imagine, okay, these people, and then go to the state level, 50 states, and those state legislatures, and those clowns. I'm sorry, there'll be some people who are, concerned about their community, and, they run for the state legislature and that kind of stuff. But a whole bunch of those people in the state legislature are just, you shouldn't pass, I don't think, because I'm not very smart, but I would be a good person to be in a position like that. I'd have common sense, and I'd know right from wrong, and what's, just, and that type of stuff. But a bunch of those people in there they come out there's always things in the, the news of, Texas passed such and such, or Alabama passed such and such, and you think, my God, how can those people be that fucking stupid? But they are. Computers are getting really, really smart, and they got this artificial intelligence and stuff coming. Of course, I don't have much more time. I got a lot of things going on with me now. I was, healthy all my life, and no operations and all this kind of stuff until just about, the last very few years. I'd go to the doctor or whatever, or if I had to have a test done or something or other, when I got my first pacemaker put in and stuff, the nurses would ask, okay, I need your medical history here. Okay, have had any, disease? No. Okay, surgeries. How many surgeries have you had? None. No, Mr. Howard, no. Hey, how many surgeries have you had? I haven't had any. You haven't had any surgery. This is like when I was getting old. I was old. Well, then I felt so sorry. Um, well, I had my tonsils out. No, that doesn't count. Well, now I'm joining the normal world. A rural Texas high school postpones graduation after only 5 seniors meet graduation requirements. Now, I haven't heard in the last few years, but the state of Texas, out of 50 states, I think it was 50th in high school graduations. And, in other words, now part of that, I think, is that, there's a lot of land down here. There's a lot of farmers and cattle herders and all this kind of stuff. And, Dad's out there doing something or other, and Dad probably says, hey, you're going to be working for me on the ranch, or you're going to be doing, and so they didn't graduate because they didn't have to, or whatever. So that's part of it. But the other thing is, this is Texas. Hundreds travel to rural Missouri to see Nunn's body, which is showing no signs of decay after X number of years. Russian gunmaker, is it Kalashnikov? Is that it? Modifies the AK-12 assault rifle based on Ukraine combat experience. Huh? I never fired an assault rifle. I never fired anything except a revolver and an auto, a Smith & Wesson 40 caliber, and a shotgun. And I think that's about it, I think. Americans to spend 1.6 billion less. Okay, wow, I wasn't expecting that. Americans are going to spend 1.6 billion less on gas this Memorial Day weekend. Memorial Day weekend is today's Friday, so it's this weekend then. See this time if I can copy. No, I can't. Which browser am I using? Okay, let's see if I can copy with this. What the heck's that? Oops. Okay. I'm signed up for Black Menu and a whole bunch of this crap, Let's see. Okay, what are we looking for here? Let's see if this. I'll copy with this browser. I can. Okay. Okay. Wait a minute. These here. Expand the menu. Okay. Copy. Okay. Now I want to go and go up here and just paste in Memorial Day holiday. Voice typing. Let's see. Okay, are we? Okay, we are. Airlines brace for record-breaking Memorial Day weekend. Memorial Day. Here we go. Okay. Oops. I want to see more. I want to see it all, okay? Memorial Day is a federal holiday in the United States that honors and mourns the U.S. military personnel who have died while serving in the United States Armed Forces. It is observed on the last Monday of May, which will be May 29th. In 2023. And Memorial Day was originally known as Decoration Day and originated in the years following the Civil War. Many Americans observe Memorial Day by visiting cemeteries or memorials, holding family gatherings, and participating in parades. It is also considered the unofficial beginning of the summer season. Okay, is this? No, okay, this is I forget the name of the browser now. Let me just close it. Okay. So the one I was just using, which was useful, is let me click on it. Microsoft Edge. And then, okay, that's my email program, which is really a good one, by the way, EM client. And I think I pay a very small amount for it, but it does cost, I think, if I remember correctly, quite a bit of money if you have a whole bunch of, if you're like a business or something, it's whatever. Other than when my grandmother died, when I was like in grade school, I've talked about this before. But what I was getting ready to say was, like when my father was buried, I never went back. I've never been back to that cemetery. When my mother was buried, I've never been back to that cemetery. When my grandmother was buried, I did go back to that because I was, I don't know, maybe 10 years old or something. And my mother took me back a couple of days later or something like that so she could get a picture of me. And she wanted to get a picture of me looking sad or something. I mean, she... and she collected she took a lot of pictures, and I've got a bunch of them. I don't know. My intention was to scan them all and put them on YouTube somehow, like by year, along with my stories, I do that, and I haven't done that, and I don't think I got the time left now to do that, so they're going to end up just being tossed in the trash. Maybe I can get together and somehow save some of them and put them up. But I'm not sure that they would be saved because they would go to YouTube, and who knows what. The very beginning I thought, okay, I can save these pictures and stuff and put them on YouTube, and then people can come and, whatever. But I think things are going to change so much that that stuff that's uploaded, I don't think I think we're going to be saying, well, not me, but, 3D or 4D, in the air, from being broad, whatever. And I don't think it's going to be, pictures of me when I was 5 years old or something riding a tricycle. I think that's, it breaks my heart that when I was married, we had 4 kids or whatever. I recorded hours and hours on audio tape. So there was me talking to the kids while they were playing the games, and asking my oldest daughter, about what was going on in kindergarten or the first grade for her, and her singing songs, about that they were singing at school and all that. I saved all that stuff. Hours and hours and hours as the kids grew up, and I would interview them or whatever. And if I do say so myself, and I have to, because nobody else will, I thought that was a pretty remarkable thing that I had. The little, the kids with their little voices and the singing, what they were singing in, first grade or kindergarten and that kind of stuff. And then I held on to those tapes for years and years. And then, you probably know where this is going. I got the tapes out and put it in the tape recorder. And as soon as I hit play or whatever, the tape was old. And it snapped, broke, all that kind of stuff. And I should have sent it to, there's places where you can send them, and I should have sent it to a place and paid. I should have paid to have that preserved and transferred or whatever. I had, when I was a kid, the 8mm, and then I think there was 8mm Super 8 or something. I had a thing. And I don't think there was anything on there that I really wanted, but there was, when I went to high school, De La Salle Military Academy, and every Friday we had a full dress from, like at noon. The first half of the day we had regular classes, and then every Friday in full dress, we had the parade. One time, former President Truman came and we passed in review and stuff like that. But anyway, there was and of course this was, I think 8mm Super 8 or something, but still it wasn't, it was film. It wasn't tape or anything modern that you people know, that you young whippersnappers know about. Let me ask you, young whippersnappers, do you know what a tube is? Do you know what a radio tube is, or TV tube or something? You don't, do you? Oh, Lord help us. Let's see. How long have I been talking? Let's see what time it is. It's only 33 minutes. 33 minutes. I'm going to stop here. And then it's 12:30 a.m. in the morning. I think my work is, well, there's stuff I need to do, but both these computers are working. And I do need to put stuff away in the closet. This table back here, I just had this all cleared off, and my intention was to, put it someplace. And so I do need to do all that kind of stuff, but I'm not going to do it tonight. But anyway, thank you very much for watching.